Well, this is what we want to make. We want to make this complex assembly, putting in all the parts. They're listed here. We've got this axle handle combination. We've got the followers here. We've got the parts of the box. We've got the cams. And the key is going to be to have a lot of work features on all of these things. And most of the time we can use a mate between these work features, mating work axes together, mating a work axis with a work plane. And I think the only place other than the box, which is just mating and flushing, that we use something other is I'm going to use an insert constraint on the yellow axle handle here. So the first thing I'm going to do is create the box. Some folks are still working on that, and then I'm going to probably in a second video continue with the assembly of the parts. So let's get started on the box itself. So I'm going to start a new assembly, and what I'm going to place in there, I could go back actually to this, and for example I'm going to want part 2. I'll put that in first. So part A, remember that's the bottom one, so without any holes. So I'm going to left click, right click OK, and that's the orientation I want it to be in, and I'm going to ground this immediately. So this will form the grounded part of our assembly. And now for the sides, that's 4, so that's called part C underscore hole. So let me place those in there. Part C underscore hole, there it is. And left click, right click OK. Now I had these oriented nicely already. Because I looked ahead and I knew what plane to make these on. If you didn't do that and you made everything say on the XY plane, then you probably want to rotate these as you put them in. And let me show you that with the next part, which is this one back here, number 3, part B. So where is that one here? So you'll notice I have the little axes there. So if I want to rotate this around the y-axis, I right click, rotate Y. Of course that's not what I want to do with B here because I had it okay already, but you can do that, and you may want to do that, you may need to do that for some of these assemblies to come together. So I just need one part B, and I think the next one is this one on top, number 1, part A top. So if I place that part A top, where is that one? Down here, and I'm just going to put it right there. So that's our places for our followers. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to first put this one on, and I'm just going to use basic mate and flush. So for the constraints, for the mates, I'm going to just rotate this guy, and for the bottom here, I'm going to zoom up, make sure I get the bottom edge, then rotate back, and I'm going to mate that with this face. And now I just do a flush, so that surface or edge with that edge, and it's rather loud, and then a flush here to here. And so I think we're good there. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with part C over here, and I can press F4 to rotate it like that. This is going to be a mate though, so I'm going to come back over here, mate that part, that edge to that face, apply, and do the same flush that I did already with the other side. Flush, flush, apply, and now I have, let's do the back. So for that one, I guess there's a lot of ways you can do this. I'm going to, again, do a mate with this edge and that face, And now I got to figure out, okay, I'm going to do another mate between that edge and that face. Apply, bring it back up here, and if I turn it around, I can do a flush between that edge and that face. And I think that's all good. And now I am going to use a mate of that face with that edge. And I think I can just flush the rest. Flush here, here, and here. And finally from here to there. Apply. And so I think that's in good shape. If I try to move anything, it doesn't move. So that's good. Okay. So let's go ahead and place the next part in, which is number 6, axle handle. So here it is. So this is the situation that I was talking to earlier. This is not the orientation that I want, so I'm going to right click and rotate it around the 90 degree, around the y-axis, so it's in a nice rotation like that. Okay, now notice that there are, let me open this, there are work planes and a work axis. So to do that, I need those in order to assemble this thing, so I want to show you how to put those in. And so for the work axis, in this particular case, there's a lot of ways to do it, depending on if you started this sketch with this cylinder, you know, at the origin. You could use the origin folder axes. Let's see. Nope, that won't work. But what you can do is come over here and take this one through the center of a circular or elliptical edge. So that's a circular edge, so I have my nice axis there. And now I want to put one right down the middle here. So mid-plane between two planes. So I'll click here, come over here to the other side. Whoops, be careful. Let me just turn it around. And I'll click there. And I've got my mid-plane. So virtually every part will have a mid-plane axis. Some will have two in different mutually perpendicular directions, and then work planes. And then we'll have a work axis. So we're good there. So let's save that, come back here, and there it is. Now for this one, what's worked before is to do an insert constraint. So I'm going to come up here and right there, and then right there, apply. There are other ways to do it, but that's just the way I did it. Now that's not really physical because it's flush up against there, so I'm going to do an offset there of say a ½ inch, 0.5. Will that work? Is it going to force me to do it now, 0.5, so that comes out. Okay, and now this guy will turn like that, so we're okay. Okay, let's do the well, let's find out what's next. Let's put in the purple followers. So those are just called follower. So let's find that. Where is it? There it is. Similarly, this one has got work planes all over it in the work axis, and it's not oriented in the way I want. I could manipulate it manually to get it oriented better, but I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to rotate it about the x-axis, and that's the right way I want to have it. So I'm going to left click, left click, left click, left click, right click, OK. And just like the other one, it's worth going in here and taking a look at this. So we know how to make the work axis. We can do that similar to the way we just did the other one. For this plane right here, we can easily make that by having a mid-plane between this plane and that plane. And then also for this one here, which is the one we use when we're doing the measurements. So strictly speaking, don't really need that one. Just easier to grab. That one's an easy one. So let me delete it. And what we can do is just put a plane offset from a plane, click there, and check it. And there you have it. So it's a little smaller, and recall that you can make it bigger by waiting until it's just 2 arrows. It's kind of tedious. Maybe like that, so it's going to look like that. So there's our work planes, and again, these are critical to have so that we can assemble this thing. Okay, note also that I have work axes right in the middle of these holes. So if I right click and open the top, so I already have these in there, so let me delete one. That's the one over there. So what I'm going to do is do center through the center of a circle or ellipse, and there it is. These can be made a little bigger, like so. And now we're going to use those right now. So I'm going to close this up so I don't have a bunch of parts cluttering up the area. So here's our assembly, and what we're going to do first is we're going to do a simple, just a basic mate. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to use a default, which is the mate constraint, and I'm going to hit this axis with this axis, and that's going to line this up. And let me just get all of them, even though it looks like they've disappeared. They're there. Apply here to here, apply, and here to here, apply. And let's go dig those up, raise them up there. Okay, why is that? Okay. And we can come up. Okay. So we've got those placed where we want them. The next thing we need to do is to do the cams. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my number 7 is hex cam, diam 0.5. So let me place that one. Hex cam, diam 0.5. Where is that one? Right here. And again, it's not the orientation I want. I can easily rotate it, so I'm going to do that. And there it is. Now this one's pretty important. Let me open it up. It's got, let me delete or make invisible all of them. So I need lots of work planes on this one. So we know it's easy to make a work axis. We also need that work axis. And whoops. And when you make it that way and not with the over here, you can make it a little longer so you can see it. Okay, now for this one, I want to have that one visible and that one. No, that one, sorry. So these two mutually perpendicular construction planes, I want to make them visible. So I'm using the resources in the origin folder. I can use that because the axle is centered at the origin. And all the action for these features are at the origin, hence the name. And then we can use the axis point here. And I could have used this one over here. One of the, yeah, the z-axis goes right through the middle. But I chose to use this axis over here to make it that way. So you need to do this on all of them. So I'm not going to repeat doing this for all the cams. All right, so let's get through this. So now what I want to do is I want to mate that work axis there with this one here, which is on the handle. Now I want to put this underneath this leftmost follower, and this is what's really cool about the of the mate command, is that I can mate this plane with this axis, and it'll put it right underneath it in just the right spot. So we can mate an axis with a plane. All right, now I think I'm going to not finish, but do completely all the assemble tasks for the hex cam all at once now, in case something happens in the video and the video goes out or something before I do the other ones. Okay, what we have to do now is we need to make sure that these followers do not rotate, and to do that, and of course they're in the right direction, so we don't want them like that, we want them like this, not like that. So again, we're going to mate that plane with this plane, and now this follower no longer rotates. We can come down here, and I think we're ready to do the transitional constraint, but what I'm going to do first is I need to make sure that when I rotate the axle, that the cam rotates as well. And to do that, I am going to mate this plane with this other little plane here. See it here? Apply, cancel. And now when I rotate it, it rotates. And finally we come to the constraint which will cause this to illustrate real motion, and that is the transitional constraint. So we hit the follower first, and then we hit the face of the cam, and now it's working. Okay, so all of them are like that. We can put in the next one, so let's put in the pair cam. So it's called pair cam hold IM 0.5. So pair cam hold IM 0.5. I know it's staring me in the face, and it's oriented correctly. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the placement of the work features. They're already there, two mutually perpendicular work planes and the work axis. So I'm going to move very quickly. This video is getting very long. So this axis with this axis, apply. And now this plane here with this axis here, apply. That puts it underneath there. And now I come here and this axis here with this axis here, apply. And this axis with, oh, it's kind of hiding. That's unfortunate. With this axis right there, so that the handle actually causes the cam to rotate. And now I'm ready to, I should have escaped out of there. Now I'm ready to do the transitional constraint. You see this no longer rotates because I constrained it to the cam. So let's do our transitional constraint. So, whoops. We can go Transitional to here. We can go from here to here. Apply, cancel, and now we should have two functioning cams. All right, now let's keep going. So let's put in the eccentric cam. So it's eccentric cam 0.5. There it is, open. I'm going to rotate it about the y-axis, and there it is. So I'm going to constrain this axis to the handle, there, apply. I'm going to constrain this plane to this axis to get it right underneath that follower. And I'm going to constrain this plane to this plane to stop the follower from rotating. And I'm going to do this plane with this plane so that the handle is tied to the cam. Come down here. We're ready for the transitional constraint, which is there and there. Apply, cancel. Let's check it. I think we're okay there. One more to go. Place what? So this is number 10, snail cam 0.5. So that one is right here, open. And again, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees so it's nice and aligned like I want. And I'm going to constrain this axis to this axis, apply. I'm going to constrain this axis to this, this plane to this axis, apply. I may be saying axis instead of plane. I'm going to do this plane to this plane, apply. I'm going to do this plane to that plane so that the handle will cause the cam to rotate. And finally, got to be careful here with the old snail cam. It only goes one way, and I'm going to do the transitional constraint between here and here, apply, and I am going to turn it this way and see if it works. Okay, an easier way to do that is to make yet another constraint. This is going to be an angle constraint between the handle and some static feature like the front of the box. Oh, it's got to be a directed angle constraint. The one on the left here, apply. And now this won't move. And that one is this one here. I'm going to name this something. Derive. Something that I can identify very easily. And now I am going to derive this one. Let me see. I don't really know if the positive angle is going to cause the snail cam to work right. Let's see if it does. So I need to turn it. Let's see. Well, let's just see. So I'm going to put a large number here, like 1440. Let's do 2880. That's, forget how many rotations that is. And let's just, okay, yeah. So I think that's right for the cam. And so snail cam, the only one that really matters here, the direction. So let's just watch it do its thing. And I think it's working right. On the left we have the hex cam doing its high frequency, low amplitude oscillations. And then the second from the left is the pair, so it really stays unmoving and then it pops up right there. And then to its right, second from the right, is the eccentric cam. That's the one that is very smooth, up and down, nice. And then on the far right, we have the this version of the snail cam, at least. It has an abrupt drop right there, and then it kind of rises quickly and stops. There you have it. So that's how you create a fully constrained Automata. Thanks for watching.